evening and welcome to OLS with Fumar Takes. This is our 271st take live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. I am 6 years into this. Happy 6th birthday to me. And yes, I look a lot older than my children who are around that age. But listen, 6 years in podcasting, 6 years in cigar media tends to put a little age on it. That's why I've got a lot more salt than pepper these days. But you know what? You live and you learn. And I'm wiser today than I was 6 years ago. When I first interviewed both of our guests on one amazing day that kicked off this entire dream. So before we get to formal introductions of our guests of honor, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. That, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate has done it once again. Yes, they are bringing it back. An oldie but a goodie. Originally introduced the brand known as Chateau Real to the domestic market just prior to the historic opening of the La Gran Fabrica Drew Estate in Esteli, Nicaragua in 2007. Interestingly, after a vibrant and emotional brand launch, the cigar brand mysteriously melted away. It became that only of folklore, legend, and yes, even controversy. While the Chateau Real brand never reached the worldwide prestige of Liga Privada, Undercrown, and Herrera Esteli, its birth came at a pivotal inflection moment for the young, ambitious company known as Drew Estate. As Drew Estate worked relentlessly to build legitimacy and expand its boundaries beyond the world of infused cigars and into traditional cigars, Chateau Real was one of the very big first steps in this endeavor. Chateau, along with all of its secrets, has since become one of the most sought-after Drew Estate ghosts, with collectors keeping the brand and its folklore alive. We simply have to resurrect this prince of a brand, exclaims Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate. And I'm absolutely thrilled that we are bringing affordable brands to market. Good shit that everyone can afford and feel intelligent purchasing. Chateau Real is marketing its return, available exclusively to Drew Diplomat retailers. It is a luxurious blend crafted to highlight the cigar's most compelling Connecticut shade-forward flavor. Its balanced blend of well-aged Nicaraguan binder and filler tobaccos are wrapped in a beautiful silky gold Connecticut shade leaf, the epitome of relaxation smoke. The new Chateau Real that redefines expectations for traditional, premium, mellow cigars that are fairly priced. Check out Drew Diplomat retailers today for the return of Chateau Real. And welcome, everyone. Without further ado, it's time to welcome in our guests of honor this evening, celebrating 6 years of El Oso Fumar Takes. Yes, we have Misters Tim Wong and Hector Alfonso. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
How are you,
Good
Barry?
evening,
Nice
Bear.
to see you.
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, gentlemen. 6 years. I know neither one of you thought I would make it this far, but I'm glad that you're here today with me. So thank you
I'm
so
just
much.
surprised after 6 years you still don't have Coop's voice on those sponsor reads.
No, man,
He's
I've
got
got
that down to.
Yeah, he's got it down to a science, man. It really is. It's really good stuff. Like but yeah, I mean, but he has been doing it longer than me still. So I mean, to my credit, I'm still the junior dude in this whole thing. So it's all right though. It's all right. Hector, how are you doing, sir?
I'm here.
Yes.
I'm so- I'm a little beat
Uh,
up still, but
How's the jet
I'm
lag?
good.
How's the jet lag, sir?
No, I'm not jet lag. It was the Lazona Palooza lag. It was rough. We were very tired from the 3 days that we had there at the warehouse. But
It's always a good time. It's always a good time with you.
yeah, it's a good time. I'm just beat up, that's all.
Oh,
But
it's
I'm
all
happy
good.
to be here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thanks for coming back. I know you guys have made numerous appearances on my show. Of course, Tim always comes back to celebrate my anniversary. Because he was the very first take on Ellis from our takes, man. Take number 1 belonged to Tim Wong. So, Tim,
I'm
thanks for
just
coming back.
happy I'm still here to be able to attend. So 6 years is a big milestone for both of us. So
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. This is it's not like one of those milestone events like 10 or anything like, or even last year's 5th anniversary and something like that. But um, like Hector, last year you obviously blended 2 milestone cigars for Espinosa, the Lazona 10th anniversary and the Espinosa 10th, which I think you're smoking tonight, right? The Espinosa 10th.
I'm smoking the Espinosa 10, yes.
Yeah. So, um, personally though, here's my question: like, do you guys celebrate milestones? Like,
I'm a milestone celebrator. Eric's not really. I just think it's just part of his DNA. Listen, if you ask him what day the company started, he won't tell you. He doesn't remember. That's just not. That's not really. That's not. He doesn't really. I don't think he concentrates on that or really puts a lot of emphasis on that. But I am. I'm a dates guy. You know, I worked at Intel my whole life, so dates are important. So I always remember dates. Uh, I like to say that somebody has to be the guardian. You know, somebody has to have that institutional memory.
Well,
So
y-
I try to do that.
I think it's the baseball fan in us too, right?
It might
Like,
be. It might be the fact that you don't know what you had for lunch yesterday, but you know Phil Nevins at 252 his first year. You know, and,
yes,
you
exactly.
know things like that. You
The stuff that gets stuck in
know,
our heads, man. Like seriously,
sure.
it's like it blows a lot of people's minds. Like too, like we're gonna have obviously a trivia questioner later on and everything, and you know, I was putting together the answer day. I was working over at Starbucks, and I was working on the answer, and I was just like, man, I already know this shit, but I was just like so fucking tired. Like I still needed to look up to kind of fact check myself because I was just making sure that like everything was just in order for a special night for you guys. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm also Tim. What about you, man? I mean, like, is milestone like do miles? I know
I
we've talked about numbers being important,
right.
especially
Yeah.
you know, from your
I
heritage.
I'm not a big celebrator or kind of of expressing that this is this, but you try to remember like this is my 20th year in the cigar business, the actual 20th year. So that's a big one for me. I mean, putting a crooked number in front of the number of years that I've been here. That so personally, I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to survive this and I've gotten a career out of something. I would have when I started in 2004, I never thought this was going to be my career. I was a .com kid. This is completely different. And 20 years later, thanks to this industry, here I am with you. So, we celebrate the ones that are important. That one to me is a big number, for me. So personally, I find that to be a milestone.
Yeah, 20 years, man. 20 years in the business. It's crazy.
Yeah, right. That's what I said.
That's nuts,
And
man.
then you start doing the math on how many cigars you smoked over the years. And you're like, oh fuck.
Well, for you, that's quite the
Excuse
number.
me.
Yeah. So yeah, with your
Yeah,
yeah, the cigar smoking of Tim Wong's a little bit the stuff of legend. So I mean,
sure.
what number is that today for you, sir, that you've lit up?
This is actually number one. Football Sunday, I was in my house watching the games. I don't smoke in my house. So
Oh
this is
my
the first
gosh,
cigar
Tim.
I've had today.
Tim, you're slipping, sir. What are you smoking tonight?
Well, it's only 7 o'clock in the evening.
Oh,
Give
that's
me a little
true.
bit
Yeah,
of
you're West
to
Coast. Yeah,
catch
it's
up.
like
Yeah.
it's seven in
So
the morning. It's
yeah,
breakfast time. So yeah,
yeah.
this is my first
Yeah,
Yeah,
one,
he
of
I lit up
course.
can. He'll be able to
yeah,
catch that number. He'll be able to make that
yeah.
number up by midnight.
Yeah, no shit.
I lit up something medium. This is a Lago Vera Habano. That's what I started with. So
Oh, nice, nice, good stuff. Espinosa number 10, 10 years for Hector. So Hector, I wanted to have you pick my cigar for that I was going to start with. So we've got three choices for you. I've got the Knuckle Sandwich Habano in the Robusto size. I've also got the Oscuro here. And of course, can't let this happen. Can't get tonight's show pass without at least offering the 2022 number one cigar of the year from Los Fumar, which just happens to be the Espinosa Crema Box Press Toro. So, what
Well,
would you like me
I
to smoke
just think
tonight?
I just think it makes sense to start with the crema.
Yeah, make it
Start
make
with the
sense, right?
crema. Yeah, the crema. You go to the habano, and then you end with the maduro.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Shocker, I love this cigar. It's amazing. That's why it was earned my number one spot. And I mean, Hector, you did an incredible job with this
Well,
blend. So
your reward is on the wall.
fantastic.
However, your first award is got lost in the shuffle. So if you could ever print up the Habano Award, we will gladly put that on the wall.
Absolutely, man.
It got lost somewhere between. I stored it or must have handed it off to somebody. And
Oh, no sweat. Yeah, no,
but
I'd be
if
more
you
than
can
happy.
if you can print up the Habano one, we'll definitely the wall. The foyer is really taking shape in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
So
it's absolutely it would be my pleasure. I mean, it's gonna be really difficult to find paper, to do it, but I would absolutely do. I'll be absolutely happy to put you guys a copy of that. So that'd be great. Yeah, yeah. I felt really bad for Henderson Ventura, because he had that fire, and
Yeah, that sucks.
he
Yeah.
lost. Coop gave him an award. He lost that one. He also lost mine. I mean, to say nothing of all the, God bless the amount of product and everything that he lost in this stuff that too. So yeah, no, absolutely, man. I get it. You guys move around a bunch and stuff like that. Not a problem. But thank you, Patrick. Thanks for picking my cigar.
No problem.
Tell us a little bit about the. And so I mean, this doesn't differ. Like the blend doesn't necessarily differ from the original cremas, but I mean, the box press adds a new dynamic to it. Talk about what you did with the box pressing and what
Well,
made
listen,
it.
we came out with the box press only because I think I think it goes back to the fact that you try to make cigars for everybody. And I think within these different lines, you try to make a cigar for everybody in there as well. So it's a line that all of the cigars are around. So let's box press one. And let's box press the one that is the most popular size right now. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, the most popular size is the Toro size. So, we still offer a regular Toro. It's a little bigger, but this 6x52 is just, it's a great cigar. It's just, I don't know, just sometimes one Vitola in the blend just really kind of stands out. And while I'll tell you that I think the 6x48 is probably the best we do in every times, this box press tour really did a good, it really shined through. So it was just a matter of doing something different within the line. Uh, just like the Habano, the Habanos are around, all except for the 6x54 box press, which I think is the best of them all. And I don't smoke a lot of Habanos. You guys know I'm not the biggest Habano fan in the world. But like I said, inside you try to offer brands across the spectrum, and then within the brand you try to offer something for everybody. Not a Corona, a Lancer. Our oldest brand, the Habano, the Laranja, and the Crema, all come in 6 or 7 Vitolas. Just to once we've got you hooked, we want you to be able to get nerdy. If you want a Corona, we have it. If you want a Lancero, I think the only one we don't do is I don't think we do a big Churchill in Laranja, and I don't think we do a big Churchill in we don't do a double Corona or anything like that. But there should be something within those two brands that you'll like.
I as part of the criteria, once a cigar gets named cigar of the year, no additional Vitola can win, can get into the top 10 or win again. Uh, so, but I will say that being the case, like if I didn't have that rule in place, the Habano box press would have hit my top 10 again for sure. I absolutely agree. I think I love the number 4. That's the cigar that won, the inaugural top 10 list that I put out in 17. But yeah, that box press is fucking amazing. It's really great. It's really great.
I prefer you give me 2 cigars, same blend, 1 round, 1 box press. I'll always gravitate towards the box press one. I don't know why that is. It's
I was gonna say,
even before I got in,
even
before I was in the industry. Yeah.
Oh,
even
interesting.
before.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Well, let's go ahead and kick things off here with tonight's major point, which is brought to you by the people. Yes, cigar people, the people who know everything about a lifetime of service. Protocol Cigars is more than just pool parties and good times. Well, maybe it is. But behind the fun is a motivation for service and a motivation for giving back. From the original Protocol Blue to the latest release in the Lawman series, Phoebe Cousins, Protocol has always been about honor, passion, and yes, the people. It's what their life's work has been and always will be about. Power of the P, Protocol Cigars. So, kind of wanted to get back to, again, we're celebrating the 6th anniversary of this show tonight, guys. And again, I can't thank y'all enough. Tim, you've done this now for 6 years straight. You were the very first take in 2017. Here we are. Fast forward, you've showed up every year on the anniversary. Hector, you were my 3rd take, and you've joined the show numerous times. I really can't thank you guys enough for doing this. But just kind of going back to the last 6 years, if you look at the last 6 years overall, and then we kind of talked about this before the show launched, you have individual perspectives that I want to pursue, but kind of from a broad strokes sense, what do you think has changed the most in the last 6 years in the cigar industry?
You want to take this
me to go
first, Hector?
or you want Tim?
Yeah, go.
Well,
Go ahead.
listen, I think that talk about this 6 years. You have to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room or the 800-pound elephant in the room. This is 6 years with a year and a half, 2 years long, the greatest thing that ever happened to the cigar industry. Where you guys there?
Yeah, I got you.
Are you there? All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You're talking about 6 years with 2 years of COVID, which, like I said, is possibly the greatest thing that's ever happened to the cigar industry, where you had guys who were smoking 2 cigars a week, maybe, and now we're working from home, extra income and extra time, and became box smokers, and I think I think in the last 6 years you've seen an increase in product. You've seen a lot of cigars come to market. A lot of guys tried to get back in this industry who left the industry years ago, trying to get that one last ride. There are some turmoils and some troubles that we're going through, whether it's tobacco shortages brought on by the El Nino and crop issues in Ecuador or Nicaragua, or the fact that there's just more manufacturers now. I think you're going to see a little bit of a glut coming up. But listen, I think in this last 6 years, it's been a very creative time for the cigar industry. A lot of great cigars have come out in the last 6 years, and it's I just think it's a great time. It's a great time for the industry. We won a small battle against the FDA that now I guess we'll be fighting again once the FDA finally appeals. I think these constants are just going to continue, and it's something that I'll see for the next 4 or 5 years while I'm still in the industry. And it's just been a good creative time for cigars. I mean, it really has. And personally speaking, for our company, it's been a fantastic. It's been a fantastic the last 5 years have been great. The last 2 years have been phenomenal. So going on our 3rd year now with the Knuckle Sandwich and the partnership with Guy Fieri, and our brand has really taken off. And like I said, it's a good time. What a time to be alive, as my son would say sarcastically. He goes, "What a great time to be alive,"
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you said something a second ago that made my ears perk up. You said for the next 4 or 5 years while you're still in the industry. I mean, are you planning on riding off into the
Listen,
sunset next half decade?
I'm 57 years old. I'm 57 years old. I have been working since I was 15 years old. I don't, guys who worked in my field and they retire and they drop dead in 5 or 6 years, never getting a chance to actually enjoy their retirement. I've been very lucky. I mean, I worked 2 jobs continuously for 2 years, working with Eric and working at the police department. But I think it's only fair for myself and my kids, and I'd like to be able to, while I'm still young enough to enjoy these things, retire, travel a little bit. It's not about leaving the industry at all. It's just about making plans for that second or that last stage of your life, where
The golden years, as they say.
the golden years. And listen, I mean, we're at the point now, the way technology is and the way this industry has kind of has moved along, it shouldn't be a problem to work remote. But I mean, the desire to leave Miami is real. I've been here my whole life practically, and I don't want, it's crowded and it's hot and there are hurricanes and and every day, there's more and more people here, and my ability to withstand it it diminishes every year. Uh, you know.
Well, you could always move
So
out to where Tim is and get the earthquake experience. I mean, that's
listen, I'd
He
like to
loves it out
move.
here.
I'd like to move somewhere where I can see 4 seasons, and and still be, still maybe still ancillarily be in the industry, and but we haven't had that conversation. We're still years and years away from it, but it's in the back of my mind because it's only fair. I mean, it's only fair that you get that chance to enjoy all those years that you banked, all those years that you put in.
I mean,
That I don't think it's asking much. Listen, I'm not that guy. I don't need a lot of things. I just maybe a little downtime would be nice.
you certainly do go. I mean, both y'all do. Hit the accelerator all the time and everything. So, I don't think it's necessarily, like you said, out of the craziness. But we're, like you said, we're a few years away from that. But
Yeah, we're
I'll
still, but listen,
I'll choose
it's
not to
good.
think about it because then that'll make me really sad, Hector. So we won't do
No, but
that.
listen, you have to plan, and I'd like to
He
do
can
this.
he can zoom from anywhere, so you're
I
fine.
can zoom from anywhere. I can, as long. Listen, it's a conversation I haven't had, and I will eventually as we get closer. But I could probably still work remote. I mean, I might plan in the next few years is to actually do a little more outside of the office stuff, and I can do that from anywhere as long as I'm close to a major airport. I'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, what about you? Look, we went down a road here.
Well,
That's my fault. But like
yeah,
the last 6 years
no,
for you. Like you said,
I
this
think
is this is your 20 for you.
yeah. I want to expand on what Hector said. I think the key word here for us as an industry is resiliency. I mean, if you look at that period, you're talking about 6 years. The FDA was looming on us big time. I remember when with Espinosa, they had to go through and do the exercise and trying to get the warning labels onto the boxes, which was a nightmare because we didn't know what the sizes were, and you had to put things into approval processes that it's just ridiculous, for that process. And then, that 500-page document that was dropped on us, it really was, people, I don't think necessarily know what the internal workings were. What they were proposing was just couldn't mean the death of the industry, to go from that point. And then now you get to survive through COVID. Nobody could have expected what happened. Like Hector said, we got 2-3 golden years out of that. Some people rolled really well with it. Other companies did not. But we managed to survive through that process as well and thrive. Like he's saying, more than ever, there's more choice in the consumer realm. We just continue to survive and be creative in that process. The biggest difference I think for us as an industry now is, how valuable those cigars that we make really are. Because you can sell just about anything right now, and I'm not talking about quality or whatnot, but just the marketplace has never been stronger. This past year, with inflation and the economy, things have kind of returned to the norm, in my opinion. Because as long as I've worked, there are cycles. It's seasonal. Different regions survive better in the summertime. Others, in the wintertime, will have adjustments and things like that. So we get that pattern back. But the industry has adapted very, very well to the conditions that have been presented to us. And I think that's a kudo to all the manufacturers and to consumers and everybody who worked in this industry that were able to roll with those punches, and come out of it smelling pretty well. So now how we do business changes because we used to be able to, like, during trade shows or wherever where we offer a deal, it was always incentivized with free product. Now we have switched over to discounts because discounts are easier for us to present than to give away free product because we can, and most companies could probably sell every cigar they roll. So it's a change in the way that we do business, but that's just because the conditions have made our product more valuable in this time frame. So to come out of this period as well as we did, I think that's the sign of the resiliency and the creativity and the ability of the people who are in this industry to adapt to the conditions that are presented to them. And that's always going to be a problem for us because conditions change on a daily basis, between taxes, between governmental regulations, between conditions of product, between the economy. It's like any other business. We have to adapt to it, and I think this industry has done a great job in adapting to the conditions that are presented to us.
Yeah, I think that sums up a lot of the last few years. I think that considering like, I mean, does it surprise either one of you considering like how, Tim, you've been around long enough, and Hector, you've been around the process specifically. Considering how long of a process it is to produce a cigar, especially from Hector's perspective of just like blending from scratch and then creating a project and launching a brand and everything like that. I know you guys have work with teams, or you have teams that'll do it for you, but does it surprise you at all that this industry can pivot so fast and so quickly, considering that the backbone of it actually is so time constrained?
Well, I think in the last year, I mean, we talked about the benefits of COVID. One of the, there's some things that are not, haven't been great. What used to be a 90-day turnaround time on a cigar now is 180 days. Because if it's not the cigar, because, you're missing a particular tobacco, or the box guy is delayed, or the band guy is delayed, or, the beastas haven't arrived on time. The artwork's not ready. We do encounter we encounter new delays that we haven't had, but I think the pivoting part, I think that also is really, that really has a lot to do with the company. When you're a smaller company, I think you can pivot. You can move on a dime. You can cut on the dime, and I think smaller companies maybe might not have the staff, or look at analytics or metrics and things like that, but we do know what our customers like, especially a company like ourselves that's so engaged with our consumer base and our retailers, not just on a personal basis, but through social media. We've been very lucky. And when you talk about the companies that were ready during COVID, listen, we talked, a lot of the companies were just happened to be fat at the time that COVID hit. Some unfortunately weren't, but I think also you have to give credit a lot to the retailers, who are a smart bunch, because once the retailers figured out how to get around any local ordinances about being open and COVID regulations, they came up with all kinds of crazy and innovative ways to work, and it's just it was just a great thing. All of them offered door to door, some delivery services. Some were doing walk out to your car, so listen, we've made it. This industry is just, in my short time, going on 12 years, I've noticed that this industry is always quick to adjust. The smaller companies probably a little quicker. The bigger companies, when they make their adjustments, they're more impactful, obviously. But I think I think it's just we've been very fortunate.
And I'll kind of add on to that. I do think the bigger companies, while it may have taken a little bit of extra time, because I've worked for AJ, for Rocky, for Espinosa, which are all medium to larger companies. One of the big things that was a pivot for us is, and I think Hector will agree with me, is when something wasn't available because of the conditions that were put in front of us, whereas previously people would wait, or they'd go to one of their other rotation cigars. The consumers very smartly were able to pivot to what they had in stock. So I think a good example for Espinosa was, I think the 601 Green kind of took off. It was always one of those kind of secret smoker secret geek weapon cigars for us. We loved it, but didn't carry as much number wise. Well, when they couldn't get blue or whatever it was for the short period that we may have been out, they pivoted to other stuff that they may not have tried, and they expanded what they were smoking. So it allowed us to kind of get other cigars that we would like into people's hands, and they were willing to try it because that's what they could get. And they actually went ahead, and whereas they may have said, well, I'll wait for my cigar, they went ahead and started to try other things, and that gave us the ability to
I want
present other brands.
I want 601 blue. I don't have blue. I have green. I have red. Okay, I'll take green. I'll take the red. Or
right. And they're willing to try it.
Yeah.
I have blue prominente. I don't have the Toro. All right, right. Listen, and as well as I think the cigar industry did during COVID. And I think we've had this conversation in private. I think I've had it with both of you in chats privately. Uh, it pales in comparison to how well the liquor companies and the whiskey companies in particular, the whiskey companies, you really got to take your hat off to how they managed to really step it up during COVID.
Well, and in
So
tough
Right,
times,
yeah.
vices always sell better. Vices
absolutely.
always sell well.
Yeah.
So
Listen, guys who smoke cigars, even I remember when I worked retail for a short time, guys who come in and buy the guy came in every day and bought two exclusivos. And then when the economy, when times got a little tougher, he'd come in and buy what's the smaller little Corona Padron, Tim?
the Principe.
Yeah, the guy, he didn't buy exclusivos. Now he'd come in and buy two Principes. I said, "Oh, what happened?" He goes, "Oh, times are tough, but I'm not going to stop smoking. I'm not going to stop smoking cigars.
Yeah.
And I think that's we've got people smoking cigars now, and they're enjoying cigars, and God, are they learning about cigars? How
And
I think when you talk about 6 years, what's one of the biggest things I've noticed is the resource. There's so many more resources out there for the cigar smoker uh, to learn about cigars, whether they want to be industry insiders and read some of the forums that are for us, or they follow Coop, or they're not really big into the news, but they like being part of social communities, which Facebook has so many of, or they follow the dojo. Guys are learning about cigars, and guys in the industry like myself uh, and guys like myself who are kind of the mouthpiece of their company. We do a lot of podcasts. We do a lot of podcasts during COVID. How many virtual herfs did you see? Some of these virtual herfs. If you look back, you'll may never get all of these guys on a herf. Steve Saka and a Terrence Riley and a Pete Johnson and Skip and these you had guys and I'm talking mostly in the boutique world who these
Right.
guys were on some of these 10-12 hour herfs and people were watching and just they were fanboying themselves to death, and I think that's great. It's great. People rag on fanboys. I think having fanboys is something that really kind of tells you that your industry is really made it.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think that this is in this age, again, the last 6 years is a period. We've had our like Hector said, we've had our adjustments and our struggles with things, and inevitably, things cost more, right? Even with the inflation or economy, whatever it may be, things cost more. Labor goes up. We had, like you said, box problems. We had transportation problems. All those kind of things. I give the consumers credit. This is the first time in you know I've ever worked that incremental price increases have not been a big item. Like when things go up a quarter, I used to hear about it all the time in retail stores. Why did you raise the price? And
And I
things go
think
up in price.
and I think we've
No
done a
one's
good
no
job,
one's done that,
and
in this period.
I think the media guys have done a good job too. And since people are, I mean, not in the Tri-County area where I live, but outside of the area where I live, they've done a great job explaining why these increases have come. Why this has happened. Nicaragua, the government tries to nickel and dime you to death. It's like they're living off the vig. These guys all watched The Godfather or something, and they're all trying to, they're all trying to do their shyster stuff on us. 10% here now. You got to register your brands there. You have to register your American brands in Nicaragua for 2 years. That's an extra little. That's a little extra touch off the top. That's just we have to live with all these things, and I think we've done a good job of explaining and reporting
Sure.
why some of these increases are coming, and they've taken it
Right.
in stride.
Right. And the magic price point used to be $10.
Now it's
Now
about
they're
15, I think.
12 to
Yeah.
15. Yeah, 12 to
Yeah,
15. And
and that's
nobody's really complaining about it.
magic price
Yeah.
MSRP Florida or
Yeah.
Pennsylvania or Texas.
Yeah.
Not in a state like Tim's, it's
Yes.
66% or 62%,
I,
Yeah.
or in New York, which is a 75% state. I
I'd give
mean,
you some pushback on that, Tim, just to say like the cigar prices have gotten outlandish because there's a lot of like one-offs, right? That like and I'm not talking about Illusione. I'm talking about just like one-off situations where like a company's like leading off, and even though one-off is kind of a good example of this, but it's the one-off's been on the market for years, so that price has been expected. But just like cigars that are like coming into the market at the $25 plus price point, like again, these are one-off scenarios and stuff, but we are seeing a more commonplace now. But to your
Well, I
point,
think
like they're not 10
it
anymore.
doesn't bat an eye when an established company might come across or have the ability to make a $25 cigar. I think you still have a bit of a hard time explaining a new company coming into the market, not a non-established company coming into the market at 25 to $30. That's a bit outlandish, I think. But hey, whatever works for them, and
Yeah,
we're not here to tell anybody how to run their business. They do what they got to do.
that's right.
But
And I'll agree with Hector there. I mean, there are manufacturers that, you are trying to create a portfolio, not, and that's everybody that has every cigar under the spectrum. You've got something for the bargain smokers, you've got something for the mid tier, and you've got something for the high end, because there are those classifications of smokers.
Right.
But he's right. I mean, you cannot buy your way into that ultra premium tier. We've seen it. I mean, for 20 years, it's been Padron, Opus, Davidoff, and no one has really broken into that tier besides those three companies. They try, but it's very hard to come in at that price point and compete against those guys who have those high-end smokers under lock, because they want to go what they're trying to do. They're going to spend 30, 40, $50 for a cigar. They want what they know is going to be something that hits their palate, and that's going to be great. They're willing to try that new expensive cigar, but they may not take to it like they do with the existing high tier brands.
I think it's a little easier if you have a resume, if you have a little bit of if you have a little bit of credibility, maybe. But hey, listen, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, more power to them. Whatever. Listen, there's what is it? The thing, there's an ass for every seat. There's a cigar for every palate. Uh, so you know,
Hector, what's the
all
most
the
expensive thing in the Espinosa portfolio? I was trying to think about this.
the most expensive cigar we've ever made was the Six Provinces Las Vegas, and that was because the boxing, the price of the packaging got a little bit out of hand. But if you look at that, if you look back at that, the way that cigar was presented in the 10 count wooden glass container with the coffins, I mean, yeah, that got a little bit out of hand. But usually our most expensive cigars is about $18.
Yeah. I was gonna say you haven't really kind of forayed into that like really extreme one.
Listen, we know our client. Look, we're a we're a blue collar company, and our smokers, the guys who smoke our cigars, yeah, sure, we have attorneys and doctors and all kinds of guys who smoke our stuff, but you can't forget where our roots are, and our this is how the base of where our company started. And you never want to price yourself out of the market that established it.
No, for sure. Sure. Um, I was gonna get an update from you guys on like your each individual kind of portfolios. And so Tim, like so how many brands are in the Tim Wong portfolio now as a broker?
I think seven.
Okay. What brands are you representing?
Yeah. So it's a boutique portfolio. I mean, I've got, on the bigger side, La Galera, Quesada. In the mid tier, you've got it's got Black Label Trading, Espinosa. You've got Illusion. And then on the boutique side, I've got, Apostate. I've got Cavalier. Really, the smaller brands. So I've got a wide variety. It's mostly Nicaragua with a couple of Dominican companies in there as well.
Awesome. So I'm guessing, just can kind of spot thinking about this with some of the brands you represent. I mean, I guess the one-off from Illusione is probably one of the most expensive in the portfolios, like the whole portfolio.
Yes, that would be one of the more expensive cigars
Yeah.
in the portfolio. It's probably the most expensive cigar that I handle. And in California, because of the tax, those cigars will go as high as $25 to $28.
Jeez.
But most of them are in that low 20 range. Um, so that is the highest. But most of the other brands I have, they're all in the $10 to $15 range regularly, and they may produce limited editions that will get pushed to $20 range. but it's all mostly in that $10 to $15 range.
Is there anything that you've noticed from your portfolio specifically that's kind of like hit a stride in the last 6 years, or
Yeah. The companies that have been the most consistent, I think most recently is Black Label Trading. They're starting to kind of really develop a following. They've grown every year for the last 3 years consistently in a good and healthy way. That's what you want to see, is that, that they're doing the right things, right? They're getting the cigars out there, and that the following is actually not just because of social media or something that is a kind of a one-off style. Maybe they're doing a series of barber poles or things like that. They're building their core lines. They still do very popular limited editions, and that model's worked very well because the limiteds will push the core lines, and that's what you really want to see, is that consistent growth between, from their core lines with the goodies being the handful of limited editions that they'll put out over the course of the year. So it's not heavy in the sense that, oh, people are just looking for limited editions. They're buying the core lines as well, and that's the kind of growth you're looking for. That kind of healthy growth, like I said. So I like what those guys are doing. And then you got guys like Hochi and Espinosa that do what they do, and they're able to grow that because you've got the tobacco, you've got the right kind of social media going, and the followers are there for that as well. So those are the kind of things you want to see. That you're not struggling to kind of get shelf space. But that's hard with boutiques, because that's probably the biggest problem, is how do I get my product onto shelf space? Because you got so many choices as a retailer and a consumer that how do I get my cigars visible in the marketplace? And those are the things that the smaller companies are trying to strive. So that's what you're looking for, is how do they break away from the pack and kind of get above a little bit and get that consistent consumer. We've said this for 6 years. You want to be in somebody's rotation. Somebody's going to smoke 5 or 6 cigars. How do I get one of my cigars into that person's rotation? That's what we're striving for, from my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the work that James and Angela are doing there at Black Label Trading Company and everything, and Hector, I know you're you're well acquainted with James and have a lot of respect.
Oh, they're some of my favorite people. They really are. They're whenever I go to Nicaragua, and they're in town, I'm in town with them at the same time. I've always gone over. They've always hosted me. They're wonderful people. I like what they've done. Listen, this is a business of relationships, not only at the consumer level with us, but among manufacturers. I mean, the guys who are your friends, you want to see them do well, and you want to help them every chance you get. So that's not going to change. I think they make a good cigar. They're committed to their craft. They live in Nicaragua. They've done a really nice job at their factory, and I am a big fan of their cigar. I smoke a lot of their cigars.
What going back to Espinosa though, Hector, like, what do you think has changed the most in the 6 years from the brand that you've worked for and have alongside Eric Jr. and Eric, of course, obviously, and the Jack that they brought in the last few years and stuff, like
and don't forget Richie. Richie is also
well.
he's been integral with the big customer, with the large clients.
You guys got a great team, so yeah. I mean,
I think what has been, well, I think first of all, when it comes to our company, we very few companies of our size have as many personalities as we do. I mean, listen, Eric does probably the majority of events. Jack and Eric travel probably 30 weeks a year. I'm traveling 7 or 8 weeks a year now. Richie's gone a couple of times, 3 or 4 times a year as well, to go see his clients. Junior does ad hoc, things, but Junior's a parent to a newborn, so I know that being home is, that's kind of it's kind of something you got to do when the babies are small, but he has his his stores that he does very well at, and he travels to. So I mean, we have a multi-pronged attack. Whatever you're looking for. If you're a nerd shop, I do very well at those. If you're a shop where the guys want to hear a good story and laugh a lot, you have Eric and Jack who do that. And then Richie, who's really done a great job with Benny's and Smoker Friendly and introducing the brand. I think what's really the most the the most astonishing part, the one that really kind of, if you sit and reflect on the time that we've been together as a company, which is going to be 12 years now in February, is the fact that now people look forward to our releases. Now they know when Warhead comes out. Now they know six
Yeah.
provinces. They know that we have, they know when the limited stuff's coming out. And we do a really good job of not only making that information known to the media who helps put the word out, but to our reps and to the lounge owners, and they create their own buzz. Listen, there whenever we have something in the hopper, the buzz is great. And in the last 2 years now that we've had Guy Fieri in hand, anything that we release with Guy Fieri right now has been doing really well. Uh, it's I would dare say that it's the most successful celebrity collaboration or release ever. Uh, because not only are the cigars legitimately good cigars, he is behind the cigars. He's a great partner to the company. He's now this year he's been more available to do events, which I
Yeah.
think is what really, we've built this we've been able to help build this brand the right way, going reflecting back on our 10 years prior to having him, and that we made some mistakes along the way, and we've been able to do the right things. We started with two core lines, and then some limited releases, and then a core line extension with Connecticut, and those limited releases will come back out. Like I'm smoking right now, I'm smoking a 55, which was his birthday cigar, which is one of those milestone cigars in the sense that this cigar taught us that we are no longer a limited 500 box company, because a company of our size to make 500 boxes gives us more trouble than it helps us. I mean, we want their retailers will want 10, 12 boxes of this. And to tell a retailer that's been with you since day one, listen, I'd love to give you 10, I give you two,
Right.
that's that kind of ruffles some feathers. We do have the two guys who can talk, that can talk them down and explain to them, listen, this is a limited thing, that's why you're only getting two. But now we know that whenever we do anything limited, it's got to be over 1,500 boxes, just to make sure that everybody gets you can fulfill the initial demand and have some ready on reorder. That's the
And
most surprising stuff. That's the most surprising thing to me.
I think to our
and
point
from my
earlier.
perspective,
Yeah, go ahead,
uh,
Tim.
well, from my perspective, um, I think that the growth of what Espinosa has and what they've always needed was a horse, something to drive everything else. When people love the brand, but it doesn't necessarily have a key brand. Now that Knuckle Sandwich is out, it's sort of that key brand that drives
Yeah.
everything else. And so when you walk into a store, they're going to want to order a Knuckle Sandwich, and then the question becomes, well, what else do you have? And that's your ability to sell other things in, which has always helped the company grow. AJ's the same way. It was always New World. But initially, and they didn't like selling New World to people because that was all they were ordering. It's like, well, you have to understand, you built a horse. This brand is going to drive the other brands in, and that really helps to have like I said, the word is horse, something that's going to drive everything else. And I think that brand has really done wonders for expanding lines within stores, because it just more interested. This star is great. What else do you have? For stores that may not have tried other things, they may know blue, they may know Larange, but now they get a chance to try Crema, they get to try green, La Bomba, all that kind of stuff. The wide variety of cigars that are offered are, you have a lead to drive that kind of stuff into
It
stores, and
it
I think that's a big thing.
it really worked both ways. I mean, we were able to get Knuckle Sandwich into stores originally based on the fact that we were in a bunch of stores. And
Mm-hmm.
uh you got to understand, this is a brand that half of our pre-order was sold within the first couple of weeks. Cigar unseen, nobody, unless you were in the 12 or 15 stores that Eric and Guy visited in January of 2021. uh, Nobody tried the cigar. Nobody knew what the cigar was like and what it was about. So that helped get us in a lot of stores. And then once the cigar came out and people were trying it, and we were getting orders from companies that didn't order from us originally, getting, like Tim said, getting Knuckle Sandwich in kind of opened the door to get Blue in. and Laranja Oscuro, and Laranja, the regular Laranja, and the 601s, and the Habanos, and so they've really kind of helped themselves. They've each, we helped them get in, and then they've opened a lot of doors for us as well.
Yeah, I think that just back to our original point, though, what we were talking about with pricing things more, I guess aggressively to not play into the to not play in some of the to the top some of the top tiers that we were talking about earlier, not to combat like the Patrons and stuff like that, Davidoff, etc. You know, Guy could have gotten together with y'all and been like, "Hey, here's my plan. I want to launch a $25 cigar." And he could have certainly gone that route, and he probably would have had a lot of success. More or less would be determined, on a number of things. But like, I think he would have been like, it would have been judged maybe like not inside the industry, but even outside the industry. I think it would have been okay because they were like, oh, it's Guy Fieri, But he didn't. He opted not to do that, So that was a big credit to Eric and you for framing how Knuckle Sandwich would partner and pair with with would pair with the portfolio that it exists today.
Oh, for sure.
So
listen, yeah, we could have easily said, all right, Knuckle Sandwich is $25.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it would have done well. But
mm-hmm.
that's not part, that's not our bread and butter. And to be honest with you, Guy's just a regular guy. He's a regular guy who
He's just a
has
dude.
is just a dude. He's just a dude who smokes cigars.
Another billionaire dude that just smokes cigars.
Yeah, listen, it's not, he wasn't born with a golden spoon,
No,
a
man,
golden
he worked
spoon in
his
his
way
mouth.
up. No,
He worked
absolutely.
his way up, and he tells stories of how the first cigars he smoked, they were $8 or $9 cigars. You want to be able to make cigars where you're going to get the largest, the biggest mass appeal, especially, and be not outside of somebody's sweet spot.
Right. And the two
Uh,
things that are really important to me about that cigar is, number one is, he is not a fine dining guy. He fits the profile of Espinosa. He's as much of a celebrity as he is, he's a blue collar guy. I mean, his most famous dish is garbage can nachos. Right?
right.
That's what his restaurants serve. And so he kind of has an idea of what that in our industry is, what sells, what doesn't. He's a maybe an outsider a little bit, but he has an understanding for that, which helps to put in that process. And number two, I think one of the most important things about that cigar is you got to realize the only thing that makes other than our promotion and his ability to work with the company, the only thing that says Guy Fieri in that box is his autograph inside of the box. There's no picture of him out there. It doesn't say Flavor Town. None of these things. He wants that cigar to stand on its own, which I think helps because he took that process seriously. It's not just slap my picture on a box and sell a cigar for $25.
And let me tell you something, he cares. He
He
smokes
does.
a
Absolutely.
lot of cigars. Trust me when
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, he smokes a lot of cigars, and he has been a great promoter of not only the brand, but I think he's been great for the industry because it's one of those guys that can actually take cigar smoking mainstream. He's not a regionalized sports figure. He's a guy that, as somebody told me at the very beginning, he goes, well, you know, he's just a regular celebrity. I said, does your wife know who this ball player is or that ball player is? No, she doesn't like sports. I go, but I bet you she knows it. She watches the Food Network, right? Yeah. So that's it's basically, when it comes to recognition, that's not been an issue.
When we see him in line we have him at our booth at the Big Smoker at PCA, the biggest question I hear when I watch that line go by is, "Hey, can you say hello to my wife? She loves you." That's part of the not, it's not just a cigar. It's
It's beyond
his
that.
passion
Yeah.
for that, all of that, and his he's in the hospitality business, and that's what they're known for. I mean, it's perfect for us. He treats
Yeah.
this like he would one of his restaurants or his tequila brand, all that kind of stuff. It's a passion project for him, and it may not be the most profitable part of the Guy Fieri empire, but he loves it. It's a passion. We throw that word around a lot. If there's anybody who's got it, it's him. This is something he's wanted for all of his career, and he's taken in full advantage of the fact that he's got something that is good. He wants to build it the proper way, which is great.
Listen,
He treats it like,
this
you
is a
know,
guy who's been on dozens of magazine covers and
mhm,
got emotional that he made the cover of CA because
that's right.
that, I mean, that's, think about it. I mean,
Yeah,
listen,
he
in our,
said that from day one. He wanted to be on the cover of Cigar Aficionado, and he
you
got us.
know,
We got him there.
feel however you may want about the publications, but that's what he wanted and he got it. He got it, and that's a tribute to the fact that his cigar is a real cigar. It's not a cigar with a celebrity's name slapped on it. It's a cigar that
Right.
he smokes. It's a cigar that he talks about, that he knows what's in it. He knows how we made it. He's aware. So, like I said, it's been all aces for us.
Oh, for sure. So like Hector, like I don't. I think I've got this. I've known you for a number of years now, and I've gotten to know you pretty well. I think I've got you nailed on this. You probably not want to get starstruck very easily, but I think this can be applied to Guy, but it can also be applied to guys like Kevin and Juan, or even Steve when you were doing stuff for Cornelius and Anthony, or any of the other half dozen or so brands that you've blended cigars for. You're handing over a blend that they either going to like or not like. And if they like it, it's more than likely going to go to market, and there's a plan behind it, obviously, and everything like that. And so you have to capture kind of the essence. It's different than working with Eric, right? I mean, Guy and Eric really teamed up to make this project happen, but you were obviously instrumental in that. Like,
Well, listen. I think in when it comes to doing a cigar for Espinosa, as in comparison doing one for Knuckle Sandwich, at the beginning we made cigars that we liked. And they had to be cigars that Eric liked, because they had to have a particular profile, particular taste, because we were still a small company. But we learned that you don't make cigars just for your palate, especially if you're trying to conquer the world. If you're trying to hit you're trying to hit all the different palates out there. You have to make cigars for everybody, for the masses. That's why it took us several years to make a Connecticut. And you know why it took us several years to make a Connecticut?
because you don't
Nobody in the
smoke
office smokes.
Connecticut's.
Well, nobody in the office smokes Connecticut. I didn't, and then it's not until we hired Jack 5 years later that we had a cigar smoker who truly liked Connecticut. For Guy, I think it's a little different. Uh, we have to make a cigar that he really likes, because because it's going to be his. It's going to be we're going to make far fewer of those cigars than we make in the for Espinosa, and it has to be a cigar that he can really say, man, this is and we really managed to do that. We really managed to hit the nail on the head with Habano and then the Maduro, and the Connecticut is just a necessity. You need to have that gateway cigar in your portfolio, and that's where the Connecticut came in.
Hector, what do you think is what's probably I asked you this years ago and you had an answer for it. I just want to see if it's maybe the same or maybe if it's changed. What's the hardest blend that you've ever worked on? The most complex, the one that took the most tries, or the most challenging, what that you wanted to put into it?
Connecticut. I mean, listen, we did
Okay.
Candela. We made Candela we went to I went to Nicaragua to make pickle juice from wherever it was. And listen, Candela was, while it was the number one cigar wrapper, imported cigar back in the through the 40s and 50s,
Yeah.
even into the 60s. Uh, there's a lot of bad Candela out there. So,
Yeah.
to fit what they wanted to do, they wanted a Candela that wasn't grassy. That and we went and
That's a
I
tall
made
order,
these.
but
It
okay.
was, and we made a couple of Candelas. Listen,
Can you make me a
as
Candela, Hector, that doesn't taste like Candela? That'd be
yeah, can you
great.
make it?
Go ahead.
It's not great.
Yeah.
So we tried the best we could, but I think the hardest thing was making the Connecticut, because I remember coming back and Eric's like, "Is it good?" I said, "We were asking the wrong guy. I think it's okay. It tastes okay, but I mean, I'm not. I don't have that. I don't have that experience with Connecticut's, because we made a Connecticut that's not really. It's not your grandfather's Connecticut.
Right.
It's and it's a little different kind of cigar. It's still got a little bit of pop to it, still got a little bit of spice to it, but you know, 6 years later, I guess we did hit the nail on the head. The Candela, the Crema's done very well for us, and with the Connecticut. So, but that was the hardest thing we ever had to do.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most fascinating things about your ability there, Hector, because like you've said that to me for years, like Connecticut's always challenging, blah blah blah, and that like Crema, obviously my number one cigar of the year. I do like the Knuckle Sandwich Connecticut a lot. The 601 Black, which was I know was a limited, that was really good.
But
So
when I did for Cornelius, I thought the one I did for Cornelius and Anthony, I thought was very good
that
Ariel.
was the Ariel, yeah, that was
The
very
one
good.
I did for Protocol Themis, that was very good as well. I mean, it's
So you
for
may
a
not
guy.
smoke it, but you certainly have a knack for blending it. So
Yeah, it's funny because Coop says, you know, what you're doing with Candela. I said, yeah, what you're doing with Connecticut. Yeah, I appreciate it, but it's hard because I just I don't smoke. I just don't smoke a
Yeah,
lot of it.
and the
Now
company's history has shown that because prior to Crema, you had 601 White and you had 601 Black, both Connecticut's that 601 Black was
I
before
really
its
forget.
time.
I forget 601 White. I forget that
Yeah,
one.
that's my point.
That that was
So
I have made some pretty good Candelas. But I mean, some pretty good Connecticut's. You got me on Candela all of a sudden.
sorry,
I've made some
yeah,
pretty good. No, I've made some pretty good Connecticut's. It's just
yeah,
a shame. I don't. They.
they
It's
just don't hit your
they're
palate.
not my go-tos, you know. But I have no nobody's complained so far. So I mean, you know,
You can
I
see how
guess
I
we're doing
got
okay.
wispy eyed though, like at the very beginning when you were talking about going off into your golden years. Like there, this is my point though. Like I was talking, we've talked about this on this show. We've talked about it privately, and I've mentioned it on my other show that I do with Coop as well too. Like, Hector, for all that you do, and then, again, this is outside Connecticut too. Like, there's something about your distinct style, the what we call the Espinosa signature. What Eric adds to it that you guys just get. Like, it just hits my palate. Like, there haven't been many cigars that you've released in the last few years, in the last six specifically, where I could just be like, man, no, no, don't
Listen,
get it. It's just not gonna work.
we all of them haven't been home runs. I mean, so all of them haven't been
Yeah,
home
I
runs.
can only think of one that I just didn't really like.
Look,
And that's just the truth of it. Like everything
look
else has just been a
the
banger for me.
dread and reggae didn't do well, and
Fucking Smoke
the,
Phenomenal though it was good.
they yeah, but they didn't do well. They didn't sell well, and I think more importantly is the fact that we're making cigars from two different places, and they
Yeah,
haven't lost our the cigars that I blended at AJ's taste like our cigars. They taste like Espinosa cigars, which was very important to
yeah.
us when we went over there to start making cigars. We wanted to make sure we didn't lose our you know our signature, and we haven't. So that's also been a blessing as well.
I think the challenge for you over the next few years too, because I know we kind of joke about it, but I mean I know how much Eric loves it, and it's kind of blown out of your palate as Habano. But yet you still manage to, again, with that Espinosa signature, you still manage to make these projects taste different, which is just
You have to
amazing.
look those days. Tim's been in the industry longer, and I'm sure Tim can tell you how many times he's picked up a cigar from a manufacturer and said, "Oh, this used to be whatever. This used to be something else.
yeah,
They just put a new band on it. You can't do that anymore. The retailers are smarter. Consumers are incredibly much
Yeah,
more informed, and not only from what they read, from from what they do. These groups that they're in, whether it's a Facebook group or what do you call that? What do you call that other thing that McTavish likes to do? The Discord groups, or
yeah.
these guys talk to each other and they share cigars among each other. And there's the worst thing you would ever want is from to go, oh, this used to be something else. So I
Right.
mean, that's always the most important thing is that nothing tastes like something else.
Well, I think like
Nothing.
years ago, like before we got into the Candela and Connecticut talk, I think I asked you this question maybe on my I think the second or third appearance you made on my show, Hector. I was like, what was the most complex blend you worked on? And and I think at the time you were like the Gent was probably the most complex
Oh,
one.
any those cigars I made for Cornelius. This is
Yeah.
a man who walked in and said, "I grow burley. I own Burley. I'm sending you Burley, and I want Burley as binder in my cigars.
Right.
Well, how about this? I want, and he was, and listen, Steve was a great guy. Steve was a very nice guy. I made a couple of cigars for him that I went to him right before a release. I go, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "This is what I want." The
Yeah.
mistress. The mistress was just disrespectfully strong,
Disrespectfully strong.
unnecessarily strong. And he loved it. The gent, I thought the gent was a great Habano. And then obviously the word got out that, why does this taste so different? This has a different taste. It's really, the nicotine level is really high on this. It's really smoky. And then eventually the word got out that it was a, American binder. And then people started to realize it wasn't broadleaf, it wasn't Comstock, it wasn't Pennsylvania broadleaf, it was Burley.
Yeah.
And people just did their research.
Right.
He grows tobacco. They figured it out. But that was hard. I mean, listen, that Burley, uh, that to make a cigar with Burley was a. I remember making 20 or 30 blends to come to come up with those 5 or 6 that we did. So
Tim, you've smoked a lot. We joke about this a lot too. Like you've smoked a lot over the years. In the last 6 years, not necessarily limited to Espinosa, but like your own other portfolios that you've represented, or just the market at large. Because I know you smoke a lot of different stuff. What's one of the most interesting complex blends that you've happened to smoke over the years?
Mm,
The last
well,
six.
I think the for my palate, obviously, my one of my favorite dailies is smoking with Dion. You know that how much respect I have for Dion. I think Hector has the same respect. The guy has a great palate, and his blending philosophies hit mine. I think you see a lot of that impact with Aganorsa now. I mean, I think Aganorsa, their stuff is a lot of it's phenomenal. I think that's for me as a quote unquote newer brand, I do smoke a lot of so I think that's kind of taking Nicaragua and kind of moving away from that whole it's always a strong tobacco. It's got spiciness. It's got that. How do I work other stuff in with it? How do I treat that leaf so I can get more variety out of something that's a primarily Nicaraguan blend? And I think that's where I think the fascination for me is what how Nicaragua is developing more and more broader tastes out of something that's 80% Nicaragua, 100% Nicaragua. How do you get there? How do you, and they're starting to blend those kind of things to reach more palates. And I think that's absolutely fantastic because I prefer Nicaragua to anything else. And I think that the variety of what you're available from Nicaragua and the brands that are coming, and that's kind of hard because what I've noticed too in my portfolio is that I have two primary factories that most of my stuff come out of. Whether I work for AJ or not, a lot of my portfolio comes from AJ's tobacco. And now with La Galera, I'm starting to notice I've got a couple of brands that are using a lot of Hochi's tobacco too. So
Yeah.
how do they take their tobaccos and what their philosophies are and create a broader spectrum of stuff? And that's part of that the bigger factories and the smaller factories are doing that. They're getting more out of their stocks of tobacco, and that's not just taking other countries, but how do I process, how do I ferment, how do I age to get a different flavor and a different profile out of the stuff that I'm making. And I think it's been fascinating to see that evolution of Nicaragua tobacco.
It's not what it's something came to mind when you said Hochi, and it's not certainly not the most complex blend that I've tasted, but
Mm-hmm.
I've really enjoyed it. But we talk about these collaborations, and Hector's been a part of some collaborations too, and everything. But we talk about like the Espinosa signature. Certain brands have signatures. AJ has a signature too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very distinct.
Absolutely.
But I think the San Latano Dominicano that he did with Hochi is probably one of the more unique blends that have come out from, frankly, either one of those guys, just because it doesn't really taste like Hochi. And it certainly,
Right.
but
And it
it does
doesn't
not,
take like AJ.
it doesn't. Yeah. And it's just,
Yeah.
and I think it's when blenders like do something like that, as much as I love the Espinosa signature and stuff that Hector works, you know, with it, I think, man, when you can kind of, I guess, to turn about a phrase here, break character a little bit with it. I think uh it's a very unique experience for your consumer base. Now you don't want to do it too much, right? Because then you kind of lose your path. a little bit. But anytime you can kind of play around with it, in Hector's case, it was the Burley or, the Candela or something like that. But, you can have a lot of fun too at the same time. And
Yeah.
it's,
Well, what's ironic too is that that particular cigar, even though it got a lot of attention initially, and because I remember they presented it right when it came out at the Big Smoke, and everybody absolutely loved it. But it doesn't always translate. That was one of those lines that didn't quite pull its weight, and so I know that the Dominicano has sort of been cut back production wise because it didn't really sell. It wasn't AJ, it wasn't Hochi, and it was kind of people liked it, but they didn't know what to kind of think about that because you're merging two very distinct blending styles and tobaccos into one cigar, and sometimes that really works on a consumer level, sometimes it really doesn't. So I know that cigar, we tried very hard to kind of get that into the stores online with all the other San Latano lines, and it didn't quite have the reach that we wanted for that line because it was so different, and people were a little bit confused by it. You're absolutely correct by that. Sometimes those collaborations work, sometimes they don't necessarily as you want them to. So, but it's one of those things where, again, like one of those motion pictures where you've got right, you've got George Clooney and you've got The Rock. You put them together, it sounds like a great movie, but when it comes together, it doesn't necessarily work.
It may not work. Yeah,
the last action hero. It's like the last action hero.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Sure, that's a good example.
Here's a question for both y'all. Like, which, and it doesn't have to be something you created, Hector, or something that you've represented, Tim, over the years. But something comes to mind too, like the ad read I did earlier for Drew Estate, right? Chateau Real for me was one of the best cigars, and the specifically the brick and mortar that I worked with for years with Michaels, that was our fucking banger of a smoke. Like that was something we sold the shit out of it. But for the rest of the world, it just got lost in the minutia, unfortunately. I think it's really cool that they're bringing it back. But what's one that kind of broke your heart over the years? Like, man, this is such a fucking amazing smoke. And
for me it was the 1959. That was the Tarania 1959.
Oh my god, that was a great smoke.
The Exodus?
Shit.
Yeah, the Exodus.
Unfortunately, I went through so many production changes that it was different at the end. It wasn't the same cigar it was when I got it in 2004. For sure.
And one of the cigars I loved, and I know they don't make it anymore, but when I first got I've been going through my office in the last couple of days, going through old papers and things, and I found I did an event back in 1995 at the PBA with the Police Benevolent Association, and Nestor Miranda was the first sponsor of that event, and he had a cigar called the Don Tomas International, which was the first cigar I ever had with Brazilian wrapper.
Interesting.
I love that cigar. I never saw it again. It was I think it was gone by 96 or 97.
Don Tomas International.
Don Tomas International, and the number 9 was the size. It was a 6x52 or something like that, or 5.5 by 52. It was what a great cigar that was.
Yeah.
But that cigar is now gone. It's only now in the books. It's in the books. But for me, the Taranos, all the different 1959s were my favorite.
The Finite too. That cigar was the shit from Tarano specifically. God. That one, yeah. That
I have two specifically, and I kind of chuckled when Hector said Brazilian tobacco because one of them was very obscure. It was the Jesus Fuego, the Origen or the Origin when he came out with that.
Yes,
that was one of the first cigars I ever smoked that had that Brazilian wrapper on it.
Was that the one? Was that the one in the 5-pack?
Yeah.
Well, originally it started as a Bellicoso, and then it became that 5-pack, the little one,
right.
And a little draw string pack. Yeah,
correct. And that cigar, I was like, what is in this? I bought everyone I could, and I was sad.
And then Sangre de Toro. I think
I didn't like that one as much. The original Origin was better.
The original
and
Origin
that was
is
one
better.
of them. Right. And on the Tarano side, my favorite was always the signature, the one that Cuevas made. It had the Brazilian Montefino wrapper on it,
dude,
and they made the copper color wrapper, and it had a Perfecto that I absolutely loved. And Charlie Tarano just got on my case and, do you smoke anything else? I'm like, why? This cigar is fucking fantastic. That's what I want to smoke. And that was the one that I loved in the Tarano line more than anything. I smoked that one religiously. So those are the two for me that just kind of disappeared. And I know you can still get the signature online. I know they still make it for Cigars International, but it's not the same. It's compared to where it was before when it was coming out of the Cuevas factory, and those two for me were just fantastic.
I've heard it's still being made. I haven't seen it since, man. But like when Grace Santalango left the industry, that Hecha Sierra, the original Hecha Sierra, like that cigar was fucking money, man. That was fucking good. The Sublime too, like the brand Sublime. I still don't know. Like I know a lot of shit when it comes to this industry. Like I like Hector, we're talking about the baseball statistics that are in our head. I know manufacturers, blend composition. I couldn't put it together myself. I'll leave that up to Hector. But like, I still don't know anything about that blend. I don't know who makes it. I don't
it's
know
like it's like Curavari. Curavari is
Yeah.
you love the cigar, but you're like
Gloria de Leon. Yeah, Curavari, Gloria de Leon. Love that fucking cigar. I could tell you some tobaccos that are in it just because I know what it tastes like. But I don't know anything. Yeah, I don't know anything else about it. It's freaking great though. They're great. So, but yeah, I mean specifically ones that broke my heart. The Hecha Sierra, Sublime, like they just didn't really make it.
And Sublime was, if you think about it, they made a top 25 for CA one year. And there's always that cigar that shows up on CA, and then it just didn't didn't do it. I think the next year Matilda made the top 25, and they just didn't nothing. They didn't. Sublime really didn't. I know Matilda's still out there, but I don't think Sublime made anything else after that.
Yeah, Matilda's still there. I mean, Enrique's chugging along too. The exposures are the new thing that he's been hitting the market with that are actually really doing really well and stuff. But yeah, Sublime, that cigar is freaking great. And just one cigar I never could get, but I remember a lot of people on our staff were really bad. It was like the 90 miles.
Oh, wasn't that a Tarana cigar?
No, that's they're out of Miami.
Yeah,
what's their name? They own a shop out of Miami.
Is that Bayo Cigars?
Yachty.
Oh,
no, her.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I know exactly. Yachty Gonzalez, I think her name is.
Yes.
Yeah, her husband at the time was a store owner, and I remember.
That's their brand. So
wasn't
I think they still make it.
Wasn't it Flor de Gonzalez? I think it was called.
Yeah, Flor de Gonzalez.
I think you're correct.
Flor de Gonzalez, and then 90 miles. Yeah, it never hit my palate, but like it was a big fan favorite in our shop, but it just never caught on with our base either. And that was another example too, like of just like cigars that break your heart because it's like shit.
Thank God there's still a lot of good cigars. There's still cigars out there that we can. That we're still fond of, so that's good.
Sure, I mean, and you remember these days when you work some retail too. I mean, there's only so much real estate you can have in the humidor.
Sure.
So like quarterly, we would do what like basically like a purge of stuff. Unfortunately, man, some of the cigars that ended up on that table, man, just oh god, it killed me, just killed me. But man, when they don't move, they don't move. You got to find stuff that But like you said, luckily there's just stuff that's out there, which is great. So. Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing some stuff over the last 6 years and celebrating my 6th anniversary here today. We've got some more questions obviously coming up. We're not going anywhere, guys, but this is we'll kind of go into some of our fun segments, which of course are our presidential trivia segment, which is always brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Giovanna and distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and now Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. So, of course, this is my 6th anniversary, so we're going to talk about the 6th president of the United States, Mr. John Quincy Adams. So which of these is absolutely it's multiple choices always, guys. So which of these is absolutely untrue about our 6th president, John Quincy Adams, the son of John Adams, which was the 2nd president, but John Quincy Adams was our 6th president. Which of these is untrue? All right. Is it A, was a lawyer with a law degree from Harvard? B, argued before the Supreme Court and won? C, was an ambassador at one point? D, is the only former president to serve in the House of Representatives after he was president? Which of these is untrue? Here are the answers again. Was a lawyer with a law degree from Harvard. Argued before the Supreme Court and won. That's B. C was an ambassador at some point. D was the only former president to serve in the House of Representatives after he was president.
I think
I'm
it's.
gonna go with Harvard.
So
I
A.
think I'm gonna say argued in front of the Supreme Court and won.
So Hector, Tim is actually correct. He was a lawyer, but he actually worked his way up as through an apprenticeship. He did get a master's degree from Harvard, but it was not in law.
Oh,
so yeah. So he did argue before the Supreme Court, and it was U.S. versus Amistad, the whole movie about Amistad and stuff. He actually,
that's right.
Yeah,
Right.
he took that all the way to the Supreme Court and won. And those slaves were returned back to Africa because they were landed illegally here in the States and stuff. So
Do you
bad lawyer?
do you listen? Are you a podcast listener?
absolutely not. Why would I do? Yes, of course I am.
Do you listen to the podcast Presidents Are People Too?
Yes,
That's a pretty.
it's a good one.
It's a good one. It's only like 20 minutes long or 23 minutes long, but those are pretty funny.
Yeah.
I really those are pretty educational.
Yeah, the book that Miguel and I have shared, and I've bought this book for presidents for a bunch of people, Miguel included too, is like How to Fight with Presidents. It's a satirical essay. There's satirical essays on each president, like what you would do to actually beat them in a fight, essentially. And it just gives you background on each president and stuff. It's like really comical. And like I said, it's very satirical. It's a fucking hilarious book. Oh my god! And I love the introduction because it talks about it, and nothing sums up this. And I've said this several times on the show. And Oliver Neveau actually asked me this once too. He's like, man, where's your knowledge come from on this? Like, why are you obsessed with presidents? And I was like, man, history in general is just so fascinating, but like the presidents that the people, the men that have made up the president of the United States, like office, the executive office for, last 200 fucking plus years. It's just like, they're fucking crazy. Like you have to be fucking crazy to run for president and then actually be president. You have to be nuts.
Well, nowadays for sure.
Yeah. Like, well, no, even that, like at some point, like you're okay. When you wake up every morning as president of the United States, you are loved by half the country and hated by the other half.
Unless you're Nixon, everybody hated you.
Yeah. I mean, yes, there are exceptions, but like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like who would want to do this? I mean,
and we've got so many people who could be qualified and do a good job as president, but nobody wants the job of the most powerful man in the world because exactly what you're saying. What you got to go through to get there, and what you go through on a daily basis. Who wants that job? You got to be nuts. You're either Joe Biden or you're Donald Trump. Who wants that job?
Yeah, they're so polarizing.
Yeah.
Everything you do is just measured with a microscope. Again, every decision you make is loved by half the people and hated by half the people. I mean, you have to have an ego of monstrous proportions. As much as everyone says that, I'm gonna try to get political here, but as much as everyone said that like Donald Trump has a huge ego, like, dude, every fucking president had an ego. Like, just like, I mean, everyone can applaud George Washington for saying, like, you know what, I'm giving up the power after 2 terms. Like, after that, it was it. Like, that was the most humble thing a president's ever fucking done. And then after that, it's just straight up ego after that. Like, crazy. Just absolutely nuts. But I still love it because, I mean, they're just fascinating individuals. And some are bland as shit, but man, there's just so many incredible personalities. It's crazy. So, but yeah, that's fantastic. That is our United Presidential Trivia segment, which is always brought to you by United Cigars, featuring La Avena, and distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, the Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and now Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. So, gentlemen, this next segment has to do with some food, and it's brought to you by, of course, this is Everybody Eats, sponsored by Pastania Cigars. If you always make sure that your serving style is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Pastania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Pastania, everybody eats. So, gentlemen, here it is. What is Thanksgiving's coming up. So, what is your favorite dish to make or share with other people?
Rice and black beans. Oh, I'm sorry. You mean traditional Thanksgiving?
It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving related. It's just like I've been asked this question quite a bit lately. Is like, what's your favorite holiday? I'm like, man, I'm a Thanksgiving guy.
Love Thanksgiving.
I love cooking for family and friends. There's nothing more fun and nothing actually, not to get too poetic here, nothing more beautiful than putting a plate of food in front of somebody that you've made and then watching them enjoy it. It's a very intimate thing, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Hector. I mean, making the cigar probably has that appeal for you as well.
Yeah, but I think the Thanksgiving Day thing for as a first generation, as the child of Cuban parents, uh, I didn't have a lot of that Thanksgiving. They've hoarded the Thanksgiving holiday. Latins have, uh, you know, there's turkey, but then it's rice and black beans and yuca and all we have all our traditional side dishes. Uh, it's I really there's no dish I like. As for me, it's the turkey. Since I make the turkey is the biggest deal. The side dishes vary from year to year depending on what my children want. Uh, they want they wanted a green bean casserole, which went almost uneaten because I don't like green beans. So kind
They
of
don't,
just
they don't
sat.
like cream of mushroom soup out of a can.
No, I mean, listen, it just is, and we're not a big family. I mean, I don't come from a big family, and so I don't really have that tradition. Maybe my children will, but uh,
Yeah,
it's
and
I enjoy the turkey. The turkey is my favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal, and that's
and
for
I'm the exact opposite. I've got a big family, so traditionally we have three Thanksgiving dinners: my mom's family, my dad's family, and then our immediate family, just my brother, sister, and I usually get sides to do because you've had Thanksgivings for 50 years of my life, so everybody makes something, and usually I get a side. So I like doing traditional. I like making mashed potatoes. I love making stuffing, and because we're Asians here. There's always Asian dishes. My mom likes making a Chinese Thanksgiving, as I call it. She makes a rice dish, kind of like a paella, which is very Asian that my family loves. So I try and be the police of traditional. I want to make a mashed potato that's got cream and it's got butter, and it's got truffle oil, all that kind of stuff. And they look at me as like, this is fucking delicious because we don't normally eat a lot of rich dairy products. And same with the stuffing. It's got the sausage, it's got the breading and things like that that are not traditional to an Asian diet. So I want a very traditional Thanksgiving. So I make my sides very traditional because I want that to be part of Thanksgiving. Because we don't; those are things we get to eat once a year, really. So that's why I try and keep it as traditional as possible.
I asked you this before, Tim. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember like it was the question basically the, summed up like this: is it rice or noodles? And I know that they're
Mm-hmm.
very prominent. Both were prominent in your house growing up and everything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
what was it? Was it always rice?
It was always rice.
Always
Rice
rice with
is
every meal.
every day. You had
Yeah.
rice every day. Even if we traveled, my mom had to have white rice once a day. So we had to have some Chinese food or some sort of cuisine that featured, and it couldn't be like Mexican rice or it couldn't be, pilaf. It had to be white rice. And it's part of our culture too, because I think I said this to you, but it's absolutely true. When you say hello to somebody, the traditional question is, which is have you eaten rice today? That's how you say hello. Is have you eaten your rice? And so it is such a part of our culture that and it's the main course. Like if you ever had a true Chinese family dinner, they put all the dishes on the lazy Susan, and everything is sort of a side dish to that bowl of rice that you're eating. So it is very important to us on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think yeah, it's just like my
Yeah,
favorite dish to
but
make
that's
for
why rice and black beans is weird to me because we never put beans on rice. Just Just give me the rice. You can keep the beans separate. It's just that's a weird combination.
We're rice eaters too, but
yeah, it's just a different. Yeah, there's different.
We got to have our beans, whether they're brown,
to go with
whether they're
That's
green, or they're
moros. You gotta have
moro cristiano, or gallo pinto, or lentils, or there's always some bean dish being made at a Cuban house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I think that's what's really interesting about the three of us, right? So like I'm Mexican, Hector's Cuban, and you're Chinese, Tim, and then that like rice is very prominent part of all three of our childhoods growing up. They're just different. You had white. Mine was Mexican rice, or what people see as Spanish rice, which is arroz rojo, which is just red. It's just red rice. Or like amarillo too, so like yellow rice too. But I know that's yellow rice in the Cuban household. The Cuban household too, right? Right.
Yeah, there's some yellow rice dishes. A lot of that arroz Valencia, the little smaller grain rice though.
Yeah. But I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, even Italians do rice. They with risotto. Like rice is everywhere. It's like one of those great. It's one of those crazy dishes that's kind of spanned the cultures and stuff like that. So, Hector, did you answer the question? Was rice and beans yours? Like what? Like
yeah, rice. We're rice and bean people.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Awesome. Well, terrific. Well, that was our Everybody Eats segment, sponsored by Pestaña Cigars. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Pestaña Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Pestaña, everybody eats. So before we go into a couple of other sponsored segments to kind of cap off our evening, gentlemen, there was something I wanted to kind of bring up, and this kind of came up with Matt Ty last week on Take 270. But I thought you guys would be able to offer a unique perspective on it, just because of your two different perspectives. This is about the time that we would still be talking about. We're November, 4 months removed from the PCA trade show. And this is about the time we'd still be talking about it, right? It would still be relatively new and relevant. At least some of the releases have already come out. Maybe some releases are scheduled to come out like beginning of January. But I think for the most part, new companies have already kind of churned them out. And we're already looking forward to the next PCA, but this year it's different. It's not in the summer. It's going to be in the spring. So I just kind of wanted to get some thoughts from the room here. Like, how is this going to change the way that you do business and the way that you've kind of put together plans and strategized before? And, Hector, I know you leave a lot of that up to, Eric and Eric Jr. and stuff, but I mean, it's got a, production, any new projects that you're working on. I'm not necessarily looking for an inside information.
Well, no, actually, I'm pretty much, I'm integral in that part, and Tim will tell you from his time with us. Usually after the show, I would get a 2 to 3 month respite. That we're not concentrating on next year yet. We're worried about getting what we showed at the show out. This year was not the case, with the show being 9 months after this trade show. It was immediately working on next year's products. So next year is a new 6 province. We already have that. We have that in the hopper. The Warhead 10 for next year.
That'll be at the show. That'll be at the show.
Yeah, that'll be at the show.
Oh wow!
It's so we turned around already, and we have that the chef special. We're launching a new core line in January at the TV. So I mean, these are things that we already had going as soon as we came back from Vegas, and we got those 2 or 3 days to make sure we didn't have COVID and try to catch our combined breaths. We were back on what are we doing for next year, because there's such little turnaround this year. So we're ready. We're ready for the show.
Yeah, no outbreak this year.
And
so that was nice.
I can second that with the brands that I represent. They, even though it's a compacted schedule, they know that what the production times are going to be. So, you either expedite it or you plan sooner to have that kind of stuff. And even if you can't, have it ready to ship April, you want to have at least be able to show it and say it's going to come May or wherever the production's actually going to be done. So, there are ways to adapt to that compacted schedule, and we all are kind of familiar with it. You get used to that kind of things. With TP's a fine example. That show got added 3 or 4 years ago. So again, initially, you covered both shows. There wasn't a lot of new product at TPE. Well, now that it can be planned for and there's a cycle for it, you can actually have releases at both shows. So I think that's not really going to be a problem, even though the schedule is compacted. They may not ship right away, but I think we'll be able to present them at both shows.
I mean, we've really made a concerted effort to have stuff to ship a month after the show. I mean, a month, 2 months at the most. This year we have everything that we showed at the show was out by September, except 6 provinces. 6 provinces always takes a little longer because of packaging, but you'll see 6 provinces in the next couple of weeks start to ship, and that'll I know a lot of companies do it, and they do it every year. I mean, I some companies that are now just shipping their PCA exclusive. We went through our PCA exclusive in the first. I think we were out of the chef special, like by mid-August we were out of this year's chef special.
Yeah.
I mean, so we hate having to make our retailers wait because you don't want to lose turns on new things, especially new product. You don't want to lose turns on that.
Yeah.
And to kind of expand on that, you're competing with all these other companies to get those dollars, and retailers only have a finite budget. So the sooner you can ship something, the sooner you're able to collect payments on it. Because if everybody shipped it all at once, then it becomes a mess where you've got credit cards and everyone's banging the same credit card and all that kind of stuff. So the sooner you can release something, the sooner you can actually get paid for it. If it comes 6 months later, who knows, right? Their interest in that product may have changed. And so we try to be on schedule with that too, because we've come to, realize that you're competing, with everybody else. And so you want to make sure you get your share of that budget if they want to order that, and you can deliver it while they still have funds and have budgeted funds to buy that product. So if you ship it later, that causes possibly problems later too. So
we want to follow the formula that we had for TAA this year. I mean, I think we were the only company that while they were at the TAA event was shipping TAA product. We sacrificed a show rates to have the TAA ready to go, and it was especially being our very first TAA. I think it set a good tone for future releases of the TAA. That they saw that, hey, once they ordered it, when they got back to their states, the stuff was already sitting in their shop. So that was really a good thing that we did there, and something we really want to follow up on this year again.
Stuff. Awesome, gentlemen. Well, we've got a couple more segments to go here. So this is our rapid fire segment. This is kind of like what I like to always ask, which is just kind of, I call it this or that, and I just give you two choices and you pick one. So I just got a few choices here and everything. So wanted to throw a couple at you here. So we'll stick with some cigar stuff here at the beginning. So Lancero or Lonsdale?
Lancero.
Lancero.
Lancero for both of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Much to Coop's chagrin here. That's nice. Wonderful.
Well, he's just a grumpy old man. What can I tell you?
Yeah, he really is.
But traditionally, Lonsdale and Lancero, there isn't much difference. You're talking 2 ring gauges.
Right.
It's almost the same cigar.
So I think isn't a Lonsdale closer to a Corona Gorda anyway?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's 43 and 4. It's 38 and 42, 43.
Yeah, and the Corona Gorda is a 46. I mean, it's
46, correct.
Yeah, we're right there.
All right, here's one that's I'm interested to hear both y'all's, but specifically Hector. Rabito or Figurado?
Rabito.
Yeah, I'll smoke the Rabito too.
If you look at our portfolio, Bear, we make 3 torpedoes, 3 bellicosos. That's it.
Yeah,
We
but you have
make
fun with that. Like when you do like some of the Espinosa Elite stuff, like you have fun with that size though.
but that's not for general consumption.
Sure,
That's
sure.
for the 170 people, 150 people who are part of the league.
Yeah.
But for a guy who never carries a cutter, I work for a guy who never has a cutter. The red, we make a red torpedo, we make a blue torpedo, and we make sarsaparilla and a bellicosa. That's it. Uh, I'm looking back. That's it. That's it in our portfolio. We just
Yeah.
don't do a lot of torpedoes. We don't do a lot of bellicosos, and we did a perfecto this year for the warhead, but that's a one and done.
Right.
You know, it's not regular. It's not regular release.
Must have been sad for
The
Eric since
original Murcielago
he
had a
never got to smoke.
Bellicoso.
That's true.
Hmm?
Yeah, the original
The
Murcielago.
original Murcielago had a Bellicoso.
It did.
Yeah. Must be sad for Eric that he didn't get to smoke the warhead this year if he never carries a cutter.
Well, no, he did, but
Oh,
he's not a
I
warhead
just
guy.
tease it.
But
Yeah.
he's not a warhead guy, to be honest with you.
It's a little strong for him, right? Which is interesting.
It's not Habano. It's not Habano. That's
It's true. It's
The
true.
other
It's
thing,
not.
I've traveled enough with Eric. He likes to chew. So like even
yes.
for months after when he came out to visit me, if I hit the brakes too hard on my car, a fucking half chewed cigar roll off from the floorboards. I'm like, yeah, like, those are
Yeah,
the little love
he's
gifts he's left me. Like, chewed cigars in my car.
Is it true? Like I heard this actor, it's I mean you obviously might be able to chime into. Like I heard that the reason that he moved forward with the project with the Zugra wasn't not necessarily to break into the non-traditional market, but it was just because he liked chewing on them so much.
I never heard that part, but I can see that. I
Yeah.
can see that. Listen, I don't acid is one of the best gateway cigars in the industry, if not the foremost gateway cigar in the industry. I don't smoke a lot of acid. However, I always have a couple of blondies with me when I go to Nicaragua because at the end of the day, after you're smoking cigars fresh off the table and you're smoking cigars when you're working on blends,
A lot of grain, man.
nothing
Yeah.
helps, nothing brings your palate back to life than having a blondie. I mean, so I can see where that might be true. He does. I mean, I'm telling you, he chews a couple of cigars a day, easy, and he'll leave them lying around. And I've always said that one day I'm gonna sit and collect 10 of them and try to sell that as a special box.
I've done
Of
that.
of chewed Espinosa cigars.
It'd go on eBay. I'll tell you that much.
You know,
Go on eBay. Yeah, I love Eric for a lot of reasons, but like I was always unique about a lot of guys who carry the unlit cigar in their mouth and stuff carried in the middle, like, or if it's they're smoking it like this, they're carrying it in the middle of their cigar of their mouth.
I,
But
yeah, he listen.
he always has it to the side, and
Yeah, he always has it to the side.
he's probably the only brand owner slash manufacturer that I know that does it, which is like one of those like idiosyncrasies that you just notice about people. Like he's probably the only person I know who does it, and it's just one of those things that's just kind of funny that you notice about him. But yeah, all right, cool. Kind of went off a little bit here on a diatribe. So Habano or Sumatra?
Anything but Habano.
Sumatra it is for Hector. What about you, Tim?
I like both, but obviously you get a lot fewer Sumatra cigars, so I smoke a lot more Habano. If I had to choose, I'd just smoke Sumatra because it's different from Habano because I smoke so much Habano.
There you
I
go.
Bear, if you offered me 10 cigars, if you offered me 10 different, a Habano and this, a Habano and or this, a Habano or the other one, I will always take the other.
Okay.
I will always take the other.
Fair enough for future questions for Hector.
I mean, it's just
There's not a rapper you like. There's not a rapper leaf that you like less.
well, probably
Connecticut or Candela or
yeah, but I've grown fond of some Connecticut's. I've started to smoke a little more Connecticut.
okay.
So
Still nice, interesting.
yeah,
Interesting. And for me, I mean, it's still the Espinosa Habano is still like one of my go-tos, man. It's one of my. I got 2 cigars in my rotation, like that Tim talks about so much. The Espinosa Crema and the Espinosa Habano. They're just always they're in there now. Bono has been for years, man. I freaking love that cigar. I don't know what it is. about it, but it's timeless at this point.
Now Habano grown in Connecticut. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I'm down with the H9. I'm down with that. Down with
Yeah.
that 192, but you know.
For sure. Okay, so back to food for a little bit. We're gonna have a little fun here. Chinese or Cuban? Chinese food or Cuban food?
Tim's gonna say Cuban too. So I don't know why you're. Listen, daily, if it's like for just a quick meal, Cuban always. But if I'm going out, I prefer Asian food, whether it's Korean or Thai or Chinese or going to have some or some sushi. I prefer that to going out to have Cuban food.
Yeah, it's different for me. That's why I will always choose to have Cuban, because I don't get it as often. As we call Chinese food.
Yeah,
And I'm very particular because my grandfather was a chef. You heard me say this, so I don't like fusion food. I don't like going to a place that's going to serve me an avocado egg roll. You've heard Jack and I go back and forth about this. That's not an egg roll.
There is a funny story when Tim came to work with us, Bear.
Yes.
Just so one of those things that you love Eric Espinosa about. So your new Chinese West Coast rep is coming to Miami to visit, and you take him to eat Chinese food.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm looking forward to having Cuban food in Miami.
Not only is he Chinese, he lives in California, where possibly there's probably no better Asian food in the world, in the United States, than on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And he took us there because he wanted to prove to me that he knew what Chinese food was supposed to taste like.
Tim will tell you, when he got there, Tim talked to the concierge or the guy, the head waiter or the maitre d', and said a few things to him in Chinese, and Tim turned around and goes, "Oh, this place is legit."
Yeah, we can eat here.
The place is legit.
We can eat here.
When you walked in and it was
this'll do.
This is not Panda Express. We can eat here.
Yeah, we walked in. It was wall to wall Asian Chinese people in that place. So that's always a good sign. That's always.
It's the kind of place that had pink butcher paper with Chinese writing on the wall. I'm like, yeah, don't look at the menu. We'll take one of each of those. That's what you want to have.
Good stuff. Yeah, Tim actually turned me on. Speaking of non-Asian food, like Tim's the one who, like, when we had the pig roast at the Lozona Palooza that I went to, where this show launched, Tim was the one that turned me on. He's like, "Hey, dude, go for the head." Like, so him and I are like, Tim and I are picking out the brains. The cheek, the jowl, dude, is where it's
the
at.
guanciale.
But yeah, you and I were going after the brain too, man. Like, that shit was good.
Yeah, that's a hard pass. That's a hard pass.
Yeah.
I know.
Back
You're
those
out,
Lozona Paloozas, when they did the pig roast, they would fucking knock the heads off and serve those to me. I'm like, I don't want the rest of that. You can serve the rest to everybody else. Bring me the head.
That's a hard pass.
All right, so back to this or that. TV or movies? So TV shows or movies?
I am a sitcom, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max for. I just finished watching Seinfeld again. I know you love Seinfeld.
Oh God.
I just finished watching that. I'm watching the new Frasier. I watched the old Frasier. I watched Big Bang Theory, Wings,
underrated. Wings is underrated. Yeah.
Will and Grace. I am a sitcom. The Goldbergs. I like a sitcom to be over so I can watch the whole series. But I'm a TV guy.
How is the new Frasier, by the way?
I like it.
I like it. It's not bad. Yeah,
it's not bad.
I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, I would have loved suck, but
so did I. But it's him. It's the only guy. Oh my God, he just died too.
John Mahoney.
It's the dad. No, Munch. Remember Munch?
Oh yeah,
yeah. He played.
Belzer.
Ron Belzer played Munch in like 6 different shows. He was Munch on Homicide, on Law and Order, on an episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
he was everywhere he went. He was Munch. Frasier's Frasier. It's Frasier, and it's only like in episode 3. But I think by next year, when they start getting, when Lilith shows up, and eventually Daphne, and
hopefully they can bring David Hyde Pierce back, because that'd be fucking great.
I don't know if he's down with it, but I mean, from what I've read, he's not super excited about it. But once Frasier, and I was trying to explain to the people at home, it's Frazier is now John Mahoney. He is
Yes.
trying to
Yeah.
he is trying to get with his son like he tried to get with his father.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a full circle
It's full
moment, man.
circle.
Yeah,
It's a
it's a
full
full
circle
circle
moment.
moment. I love the little tidbit, the bar that they hang out in, that Eve is the
Yes.
bartender, is called Mahoney's after
Mhm.
John Mahoney, like his dad. So like then there's
It's
some
really
fucking nuggets in there. It's great.
it's and it's smart. Frasier's a smart TV show.
Yeah.
And the
1000%.
guy who's playing, I guess, the role of his brother now,
Yeah,
who's
Alan
his old,
essentially. Yeah, his
yeah,
old
well,
friend.
Alan
Yeah.
is his old is he's it's just like watching Niles. It's
Yeah.
just another version of Niles,
It really is.
But
Yeah.
but this guy drinks a lot and he's so- but it's funny. I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
And I'll go the opposite way because I go to the movies like most of us so rarely now. You watch so much TV at home because everything's available to you. You miss the experience. I want the bucket of popcorn. I want the nachos. I want to sit there
Uh,
for 2 hours. I want the sound
I
system.
can't go to movies anymore.
Yeah.
Listen, I just watched that new The Killer with
Yeah, is that good? That looks good too on
the
Netflix.
soundtrack's fantastic. There's like 7 Smith songs on there.
Yeah.
Nice.
I saw
Yeah.
Terrence's review online. I thought it was good, but I don't
But
know enough of that director's work to tell you. But it was entertaining. It
but
was a very good 2 hours.
I might go to 3 movies a year, so that becomes a special occasion. Man. I want all the junk. I don't care if I spend $30 on food, $20 for the ticket. I'm going to the movies. I get the sound system. I get all of it. And being
This
disabled now, they put me in the best seats in the fucking theater.
the sitcoms for me are just like an old sweater. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
the dialogue already. You're listening to it for the third, fifth, 10th time.
Yeah.
They're comfort food for me. That's why I do TV.
Sure. All right. Now this is us. I know, not for our necessarily our kids or relatives' kids or anything like that, but this is for us. Going back to your childhood, would you rather have been homeschooled or learned in the classroom?
Classroom.
Classroom. Yeah.
Yeah, homeschool would have sucked for my house.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Especially since I had Asian parents. I can't even fathom.
Yeah, that would have fucked. That he would have had no. He would have fucked up his curve. The math curve would have been incredible.
Yeah. I'd be even more screwed up than I am now if I had to learn from mom and dad.
And my mother agreed with that. My mother sent me to summer school every year. I didn't need to go to summer school, but she thought it was important that I went to summer school. So
they sent us all to Catholic school because they thought we'd get a better education going to Catholic school than we did to public school. So there is that. If you want to take that into account.
All right. So would you rather be Mr. Fix-It? And what I mean by that, be able to fix things, but not only that, people rely on you to fix it. Neighbors, relatives, etc. The works, right? You're always the fix-it person. Or would you rather be everyone's shoulder to cry on?
Oh God. You have another option?
Yeah.
I thought this. I wrote this one specifically for you, Mr. Warmth. So this is important.
I am not Mr. Fix It. What I know how to do, I do. I do. I am not. What's probably the best way of saying it? I'm not experimental. If I don't know how to do it, I don't. I don't dabble in things. I don't. Now with YouTube, everybody thinks they can do shit. No.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if I install a ceiling fan, I turn the power off to the whole house because I'm not. I'm not. I don't want to die. That's an awful way to. That's an awful way to be a side note on a cigar blog. Oh, and, Hector was electrocuted today. That's why I don't like. Yeah, that no. Listen, and being a shoulder for people to cry on. Oh man, that's tough. Yeah, God, man. Oh shit.
This is my entire toolbox. I call. I don't fix anything.
Yeah,
and so I'll take option number 2.
That's what. Yeah, given those two options, I'd rather be your shoulder to cry on, but don't cry too long. Make it a small problem.
You got 5 minutes.
You got 5. I'll give you 5 good minutes. Yeah, 5. I'll give you 5 good minutes.
Juan's listening to us, and he's probably like, Hector said he'd give me 5 minutes to cry on his shoulder.
Actually, Wong came to Palooza, and he was very well behaved. Very well behaved.
Juan's a new one. Where's Juan? Where's Juan? Hashtag where's Juan? All right. That's our conclusion of this or that questions. Thanks, guys. Thanks for participating. That'll lead us into the last couple questions for this evening. which is, let's talk about the Asylum moment, which is always brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than just a physical place. It can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars. Light up Asylum and choose your refuge. Now, this segment's been around for a couple years now, guys, and I think both of y'all have taken part in it, but so hopefully we're not playing the repeat button too much. So let's go back to the last 6 years, because that's the theme for tonight. In the last 6 years that you can remember, there's always those moments where it's just us and a cigar. You know, we do a lot of things socially. You know, you guys, Tim, you host, you work a lot of events and retail shops. You know, Hector, you travel quite a bit for the company, obviously. But there's those few moments that we have every once in a while. They're just us and the cigar. And I think those can still be very powerful and pivotal in our life. Probably have several. But what's a moment that comes to mind in the last 6 years? What were you reflecting on, if you can remember? And what was the cigar you were smoking, if you can remember?
So as time goes on, I smoke by myself less and less. I enjoy the aspect of the brick and mortar. I like sitting at the brick and mortar, and especially my brick and mortar. I love the guys who go there. They're all great guys. Very rarely do you see me smoke by myself. Even when I'm having a smoke in my office, Jack's never more than 6 feet away. You know, there. So we're there. I'm with somebody. But my last moment was, I want to say, actually, I can tell you that it was, let me get the date right. It was November of 2019. November of 2019, when I went to sign my retirement papers, uh, that I was going, that I got into the retirement, into the drop, which is, once you sign those papers, that's it. You're saying that you've got a date that you have to leave by. And I remember signing those papers, and I parked at the parking lot across from the accounting building on the top floor. That has a pretty nice view of Miami. And I was I was a little overwhelmed that day. I just lit a cigar. I just sat in my car, put the windows down, and lit a cigar. And then I kind of got out of the car and walked around the parking lot, the top level there, and looked at Miami, and reflected back on 30 years at the time. It was 29 and 3/4 years. And thought about all the things that I would be giving, that I'm giving up, all the memories that I had, all the memories that won't be relived. And yeah, that was it for me. As I sat there, I'm like, oh, this is the next phase. And 2 years later, 2 years and 5 months later, I was out. Uh, I was walking out of the building, and never came back. I've only come back to visit once. So that was it. That was the last time I had a cigar by myself. That was one of those moments that your mind is elsewhere.
You know, Hector, I tried to do a good job of always telling you how much I appreciated your work in your other life, so to speak. And and it was a moment that I felt very important to, that trade shows was congratulating you on your retirement and stuff. But I don't think I ever thought about it the way you just described it, like how you're.
Listen, when you leave police work, yeah, you're like, oh, I can't wait to retire. But you're leaving behind a brotherhood of these guys that have come and gone in your 30 years, that the things that you've done, the good things that you've done, that the many good things that you've done that they'll never that are go unnoticed, that people will never know about. Uh, and the only guys who really understand are the ones who've worked with you and who have had the same experiences. Uh, going into the private sector is difficult. I mean, it is hard when you've always known the other side, So that was kind of a big deal.
Tim, what about you?
I think one of the most memorable things that I did smoking on my own was when I was working on one of the pure blends, the Oscuro. It's the third blend that we released, and as I'm starting to test this stuff, I'm actually in Lazona, the factory. Have you been there? There, you've been to the Lazona factory, right?
I haven't been to Lazona yet. No.
Okay. So it has this second floor balcony, which is one of the best places to smoke in Esteli. And I'm there on my own for some reason because normally when I'm down in Esteli, I'm either was on the AJ tour, or I was on the Espinosa tour, and you've got a group of people with you the entire time. And Hector was, he's always been the guide through that process. Was like, well, here's where the stash of stuff is. Grab some stuff, smoke, see what you like. We can work on it. And I just started picking stuff out, and I was sitting on that balcony trying stuff, and I'm just like, this is the part of the business that I've always kind of wanted to be in. And I was like, this is something that's special to me that I got to do something on my own, in SLE trying stuff. And I'm still in contact with Hector, like this is that. But just that time that I'm smoking stuff on, this is what part of what I've been trying to get to in my, career for, and I was able to do that. Now that was a special moment, a special time for me because I got 2 hours, whatever it was left alone, just trying stuff and going, okay, this is that. And this is something that I've wanted to do the entire time that I worked in this business, and I got a chance to do that. And I thought that was just a fantastic place, the venue, the cigars, all of it was a fantastic experience for me personally,
That's awesome. Yeah, fantastic. Cool. Well, thank you, gentlemen. That was our Asylum moment, brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than just a physical place. It can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars. Light up an asylum and choose your refuge. Well, gentlemen, here we are. Last question of the evening. And we're going to wrap up our 6th anniversary show with, as always, our last segment of the evening, which is our curveball segment, brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter. Since the company's inception, Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park. 8, count them up, 8 consecutive years in the consensus top 3. Will he make it number 9? We'll find out here in a couple of months. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. So again, gentlemen, the theme tonight is 6 years. So I want you guys to look back. We're 6 years. We're at the second Lazona Palooza together. And other than both y'all's deepest regret, which was sitting down for me and starting our friendships, that would last the next 6 years, and I would harangue you into guys joining me on the occasional Sunday evening, super late. Well, late for Hector. It's like lunchtime for Tim. So, but other than that,
well, this is like being on Fernwood tonight. You're too young to remember Fernwood tonight, but Tim and me do. This is the late show. But go ahead, go ahead, Bear.
So other than that, I want you guys to think about this. Again, it's a little daunting of a question to put on you and on the spot. So take a moment if you need to. Think about something that's happened in the last 6 years, and Hector, you might have touched on it, but it might be something different. Where you kind of look back and wonder, what if I'd gone a different direction? What would my career look like? What would my life look like? What in the last 6 years was that moment for y'all?
Listen, I had I not retired, had I not left when I left, I'd still be on the job for another year or so. And I'm kind of glad I left. I mean, especially the way things have happened down here. It's policing is a different occupation now. I think I left at the right time. I would have left a year earlier. It's just the COVID money was just too good to walk away from. But outside of the friends that you made and the guys that are your brothers that you worked with, that was it. I mean, listen, I could have stayed and I didn't, and I think I did. I made the right choice.
Well, I, I think it's about 5 years at that Arizona Palooza was when I first made the decision to go from working for General Cigar to being a broker and possibly launching my own brand. And you wonder about that because whether that was probably the hardest job that I worked in because it's the 800-pound gorilla, and it's very corporate. You do a lot of things, but they took care of us very, very well. And so you kind of wonder if I stayed there a few more years, where would I be different? Would I be where I'm at? Could I have a chance to experience the things that I've experienced? Or would I continue to be, the cog in the machine? So you always wonder, well, if you stayed there, what could I have made? What could I have done? But you don't feel like you're growing. So that choice is that I made the choice to kind of grow personally versus leaving a very, very cushy job, for lack of a better word, a very comfortable job. And so you make that choice and you wonder where I could be in terms of this industry being there versus being where I am now. So those are always, you can kind of look back and go, did I make the right choice? And obviously you think about both sides of the equation all the time, and that's just one of the things you kind of dwell on because I still know a lot of people over there. I see what they're doing and I'm wondering, it's interesting, would I be able to do what I was doing then, if it was now? So those are the kind of things that I wonder about a little bit,
Sure.
Because it was a really nice place to be at the, and so, but you got, if you're going to grow, you got to take risks, right? Hector will say the same thing. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, not to steal your thunder there, Tim, but and not to put too fine a point on it and be too braggadocious about it, but I mean, it was a pivotal moment for me. It went from, at the time I had been working with Coop for a few months and on the podcast partner, and I just threw an idea at him, about me launching this show, and was so supportive and
yeah,
helped me launch it, and you guys were certainly a part of that too. Like again, this is Tim. This is why I invite you back every year. Like I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. The fact you were my very first take, and I'll never forget that Hector was my number 3. And
I'm not gonna lie, I was just happy somebody wanted to talk to me at the Arizona Palooza and
Who
not
was your second?
everybody
Who
else.
was your second take, Bear?
Fernie Zacharias, yeah, yeah, and then Eric Jr. Eric
I know
Jr.
that. I
was
know that guy.
Yeah, Eric Jr. was a brief number 4. He was of course sick that year, and he still stuck it out with me for a few minutes just to have a couple of questions, and we brought him back. I think we brought him back a year later to have a full show, and he did such a good job. And but like, yeah, no, it was such a it was a very canon moment for me. And I made so many wonderful friends that weekend, and the people that are still, I mean, Chrissy Critchfield is watching right now. I met her that weekend, and her husband Curtis. They're fantastic people in this industry. And if you guys like ever need a chuckle in your life, like just follow Chrissy on Facebook because she's fantastic with all her memes. Like she's hilarious. She cracks me up.
She'll steal your meme though.
She's
She'll fucking
If you
steal
got
it.
a
That's
good meme,
fine.
she'll steal it.
Oh,
She'll
that's
steal it.
fine. She can do that. I steal some of hers because they're
I
fucking hilarious.
I will tell you this though. I don't. I know she's been very good about keeping it secret, but I send her every time I see something that's too edgy for me to post. I'll send it to her. She'll post it.
Oh
Because remember,
yeah.
I have, my Facebook connects to a lot of people who
she's
buy our
she's always
cigars.
top 3 in my timeline. So every day I see
Yeah,
something
Oh my
already
god,
already,
dude,
a
yeah.
she's a
couple of times. So
dude. I tell her this all the time. She's a fucking joy of my life, man. Like she just makes me laugh every day. That's
And
fucking
she'll
hilarious.
tell you she'll tell you that too.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah, she'll
that is
call
one
it.
of those checklist things for me. I got to
Yeah.
go have tacos with her sometime. So sometime
Yes.
somewhere.
Yeah. Tacos and a PSL, man. We got to get the pumpkin spice latte at the
Mm,
right upon the season there.
yeah, I'll
Or some
pass on that
little
part, but I'll take tacos.
the little Debbie's like festive cakes. She
Yes,
like was
yes,
buying the Christmas trees in
yeah.
fucking September because little Debbie's is fucking
Oh,
crazy.
so
You put up her,
being a
but
West Coast guy, I've never been in a Bucky's. So
Oh,
well, she's been in all of them on the way to Florida. She's been in all. Yeah.
yes, I know
She,
this.
I saw that she put up her Christmas tree today, which is, I always say that I'm going to be the first on my block to put up Christmas lights, and every year, some shithead beats me to it. There is a guy down the street who has Christmas lights up, and we are still 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. Just,
People were putting them
I
up in
hate that.
September, man.
I
I
hate
saw
that
some.
guy. I hate that guy. All right. So anyway, that's my own personal. geez, I'm never going to be first. Never, never, never. It's the little things with me, man.
It's the little things. We can help you out, Hector. Next time, I'll just fly down the floor. We'll put him up, and or I'll just like go and plug that guy's lights. Like he'll never have to know. Other than the fact that I
I'm
announced it in
surprised that
public, right?
I'm surprised the association hasn't said anything to him because we have a really, really tough association.
Oh,
They
that's
want
next
you to-
year.
they
The
want-
Lizona Palooza pre-party at Hector's house. We're gonna trim the
come on.
tree.
We're
We
gonna
need
put
to-
it.
we need
We're
to
gonna
put the
trim.
tree up. Not
Sounds
the
good.
inside, just the outside. Just we'll get the outside done first. One of these years, I'll get it done.
Sounds awesome. Well, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for being part of my 6th anniversary show. I can't believe it's
Thanks
been
for-
6 years.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. I appreciate it.
Yep,
Absolutely.
appreciate you. See you next year, Bear.
Always,
I'll see
Tim.
you.
Tim,
I'll
Tim
see.
is-
I'll see you on the baseball show.
Yes, we'll do the baseball show for sure. And for my audience out there, we really do appreciate all those likes, shares, and comments. Keep them coming. You can always check out our YouTube page. Has a YouTube channel, LS Fumar. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you do listen to us on podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure you hit the download, subscribe, and review button. Especially do the reviews. Need some more of those. Whoever the Debbie Downer was that gave me a 1-star, thank you for the constructive criticism. Next time, just actually put something in the criticism. That would be really helpful. Other than just telling me I suck with giving me the 1-star review, it'd be, helpful if you provide a little bit of context so I can try to improve myself. But the growth is always positive here on LS Fumar Takes. We do really appreciate it always. And please keep them coming as always. If you already are a subscriber, do me a favor, hit unsubscribe, but then don't forget to hit resubscribe because that helps my numbers. That's why I get Tim back every year, is because he looks at my numbers and he's like, absolutely, Bear, you're growing, and that's fantastic. So I'll absolutely be a part of the show. Hector, thank you as always for being on and available anytime that I ask. It really means the world to me. So congratulations to Espinosa Cigars for the second #1 cigar of the year from LS Fumar Takes. In my brief history, that's the first company to ever do it. You were the first one with Espinosa Bono and the first company to ever have 2 #1s. So congratulations to you, sir. And Eric.
Hey,
Jack,
if the Giants
Richie,
sign Otani, if the Giants sign Otani, I want on this baseball show.
I'll put in a word, Tim. I'll put in the
We'll put in
word.
a good word for you.
We'll put in a good word for you. So
Maybe
all right.
maybe you can get a pre-recorded segment in.
There you go. There you go. To all our audience, thanks again. Once again, you can always check out our calendar of upcoming events on our Facebook page. Just check out our Facebook page, LS Fumar. This is where we broadcast every Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Central. It's much later than that now, especially for Hector, and for Tim, he's going to go to lunch. So on the West Coast. We do appreciate everyone out there. Thank you so much. As always, this was our 271st take, 271 in 6 years. Holy cow. Can't believe it. Want to thank all of our guests, all of our sponsors over the years. Couldn't have done it without you. Really do appreciate it. From the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas, I'm your host, Bear Duplessis. As always, and guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.
Good night, guys.